So what they did was, first of all, they before the debate, they actually kind of were strong arming the Oxford Union into kind of blackmailing them actually into allowing Mosab Yousef, who really has no place in the Oxford debate, nor does Yoseph Haddad. These are not thinkers. They're not academics. They're not writers. They're not politicians. They're just these like angry brutes who yell and scream, and they literally have blood on their hands. I mean, you like actual literal blood on their hands of people whose murder they caused, or and I think that they knew that we would object to being in a room with them, in part because honestly, like we weren't there for theater, right? I'm not interested in that. I mean, I'm interested in having an intellectual to be in an intellectual forum where people are going to articulate positions that are grounded in truth and history. So we initially objected, like, what is it? What are you trying to do? So we went from having Benny Morris, who I don't like, who's really egregious, but at least he's
a historian.
He's a historian, and he can speak cogently, and he can articulate a position, So we went from Benny Morris. We went from Benny Morris to these, I don't know what to call them, honestly, but they definitely weren't academics. We'll say that.
And just for people who don't know, one of them is someone who calls himself, I guess, an Israeli Arab, right? That's what he calls himself. And he dates that woman, Emily Schrader, who's just absolutely awful. Some like woman from, I think, California, who lives in Israel. They, of course, can't get married because they're not both Jewish, so they can't get married in Israel. I forget, is he Muslim or Christian? Do you know?
I really don't know. And actually, what's interesting is that he claims to be from Haifa.
The majority of you have never been in the land of Israel, have never lived in the land of Israel. And then you have the audacity to come to speak to an Arab who was born in Haifa, the largest mixed city in Israel, raised in Nazareth, one of the largest Arab city in Israel.
But nobody, like, we have friends who've actually tried to find out who his people are. And either nobody's claiming him because
I wouldn't either,
or he actually is not from there and it's a big lie. So really nobody knows who this guy actually really is. But anyway,
he harasses, like, there's video of him harassing like an Orthodox Jew, calling him a traitor because he's an anti-Zionist.
Look at these people, coward terror supporters. Free Palestine, right?
No, it's free Palestine.
Free Palestine. Chayin means bouquet.
He's a little bit unhinged.
He is,
And I think in every interaction, and just like he did at the Oxford Union, it's this bellicose and that sort of kind of rhetoric, and then it turns into anger and shouting and slurs and obscenities, and that's exactly, he had to be removed. And then you have Mosab Yousef, who is working out his daddy issues. I don't know.
Because his father is a Hamas leader.
And his father disowned him. He turned against, he was working, he sort of brags about at one point receiving a salary from Israel, from the United States, from the Mossad, and from Hamas, and from the Palestinian Authority and from Hamas all at once, because he was just sort of so duplicitous and working for everybody. But anyway, so the opposing team told the Oxford Union that if they did not allow Mosab Yousef to be on their team, that they would all withdraw and they would go to the media and make a circus. And so we didn't want the debate to be canceled, and that's what would have happened. So we decided to go ahead and kind of call their bluff. And when they were there, I think they were just, it was very clear that their position was indefensible. And there wasn't a whole lot of favor for them in the audience either. And so they were just angry. And then as soon as it was over, they went on, before anything was posted, they went on this media blitz, I think, that they had already planned and put in place, which is something Zionists always do in order to own the narrative, whatever.
Get ahead of it, yeah.
Yeah, that's what happened.
Yeah. And Haddad, by the way, of course, bragged about being in the, in the IDF and how great it is to be in the IDF. And that's, for him, a sign of a lack of apartheid.
Apparently, some people do not realize that Arab Christians and Arab Muslims are not obligated to serve in the IDF, but if you want, you can volunteer. I decided to volunteer and serve in the IDF. Many people ask me, why did you choose to take that decision and actually serve in the IDF?
I wanted to give the opposite team a chance to make their really convincing point. So this is what does he call himself? I guess he's also a born-again Christian, the son of the Hamas, the disowned son of the Hamas leader.
Yeah, Mosab Yousef. Yeah.
Yes. So here's his really effective point that he made on the other side.
Now, there come the Palestinians, the most pathetic people on planet Earth.
And it's what's amazing about that statement is that was actually tweeted out by someone like a Zionist, a white South African, by the way, but tweeted out as if that was like a good piece of evidence. Like just a bigoted, like self-loathing or however you want to describe it thing. That's like, it's just such an embarrassing piece of non-debate.
So what's interesting when that happened is that somebody stood up in the audience and said, they called for a point of order that they want the speaker expelled because they're literally attacking somebody's identity.
Right.
And there was an initial ruling by the president to go along with that, which I didn't really agree with. I'm of the mind to like let them speak because they just hang themselves with their own words. But in opposition, in sort of arguing to allow him to continue, Natasha Hausdorff stood up and said, this is a man who is speaking about his own people. He's describing his own people. What's the problem?
Wow.
You know what I mean? Like, can you imagine, like if Miko had gotten up and said,
exactly,
and then recounted like terrible Jewish tropes and said, Jews are blah, 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 blah.
Right. But he's Jewish, so it's okay. Right. Yeah. And they already call him a self-loathing Jew just for criticizing Israel.
Exactly.
Right.
But
and an anti-Semite,
so like, yeah, anyway.